Recently, I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity for an exclusive interview with two of the animation team from Embark Studios, animation director for the finals, Mikael Högström, and animator Oskar Wetterbrandt. We spent over an hour chatting about things like what they did before working on the finals, what the animation team actually do at Embark, and at the end of the interview, I had the chance to chat with Oskar about an independent game that he's just released to Steam called Revolvermen. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll tell you how you can have a chance to get Revolvermen for free. Before we jump into the interview, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, just know that I'm a member of Embark Studios' Content Creator Program, which means that they pay me for content about the finals that I create, like this video. Therefore, I've tagged this video as a promotion to keep that relationship nice and transparent. Okay, kick back and enjoy this exclusive interview with two of the finals animation team. All right, Mikael and Oskar, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have some of the animation team from Embark Studios to have a chat to and kind of get a good idea of what you guys do at Embark. So I think what we could do to start off with is just have a few questions to kind of introduce yourselves. And Mikael, maybe if we start with you, so if you could tell us how you got into the gaming industry and what previous games you've worked on and when did you join Embark Studios?
Well, thanks for having us. It's super fun to be on your show here. I must start with saying that, I've been watching your videos for a very long time. I think you were probably like our first fan that sort of discovered us back in the day, right? It's
yeah, that's right.
So it's super fun to be on the show here and talk to you. So, how did I get started with games? I guess way back when I was a kid, I've always loved games. I think that's the only thing I ever wished for my birthday or for Christmas. It was video games, right? So, and at that point in time, I didn't really know that you could work with that, obviously. And I'm getting old now. So back when I started, you didn't really study games either. You learned it by just trying out different things. But I went in a 3D course that taught me animation, and I was fortunate enough to land a job at a studio called Lionhead Studios in the UK, and this was back when original Fable and black and white and the movies. So that's where I started my career, and then and that was interesting because that was all hand animated. There was no mocap, no nothing. So you got like a crash course in hand animating things. I think we made for the movies we made 2 feature films worth of animations, basically hand keyed. Into that game. So that was a perfect first job for me when it came to animation. Loved working there, and then I moved on to because I got homesick. I moved back to Sweden, so I started at DICE and worked there for I think 13 years, and then I ended up here at Embark Studios. So that's my.
And what was your first game with DICE?
My first game was first Bad Company. So Battlefield Bad Company 1, I guess. Then.
Okay.
So that was a big jump from Fable and the movies and going into more military shooters and stuff like that. But yeah, it's I've stuck with the shooting genre since. Right?
Yeah. And so you were with DICE for 13 years, did you say? 13 years? Yeah.
Yes.
And so what was the last game that you worked on before moving to Embark?
I worked on Battlefield 5. So I saw that all the way to the end. I worked as the animation director for that game. And before this, I guess, had my hands in a lot of different games. But, Bad Company 2, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, 3, all of them, all the Battlefields.
Yeah, some huge games in there. And were you with Embark right from the start when Embark first started?
I I wasn't here from the very first start, but I was, I think, maybe number 9 or so through the door. So January 2019 I started, so that's 6 years now, and time flies. That's crazy.
Yeah, it has gone very quickly. Yeah, I made my first video about you guys in August 2019, and that seems like a long time ago now, but it has gone quickly.
Yes.
And how about you, Oskar? What was your introduction to the gaming industry?
Well, first thing as well, same as Mikael said, super grateful to be here in the interview as well. Excited to talk
Thanks.
to you. And so I started, I guess it's similar. Like I've always played games as well as a kid and never really realized that I could work in game development. And it was a friend of mine who had a girlfriend who studied in Skövde here in Sweden, city a bit away from Stockholm, where there's a game development course. And then I realized, oh, okay, you can actually work with these things that I've played all my life. So I applied for that, for the animation program, and got in and studied there for 3 years. And it really suited me. I felt like I thought it was very fun, not just playing games, but making games as well. And then the third year there, the last 6 months, I had an internship opportunity. So I reached out to some different places, and one of them was DICE. And I talked to this guy, and they seemed to like what I did. So I got an internship for, I think it was 5 months at DICE. And that's how I got into the industry. And the first month, I think, I worked on the first expansion pack for BF1. They Shall Not Pass, which was, I learned a lot just from getting in there and going into like sponge mode and just sucking up all of the information and knowledge I could in a very talented team. And then after that, I moved over to Battlefront 2 for about a year, and then BF5 Live, and 2042 as well, up until launch.
Yeah. What a way to start with Battlefield 1. I mean, an amazing game. You know, it's a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very cool. I've been playing Battlefield 1 a lot with my friends, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting behind the doors of like in the place where they made it, so, and making stuff myself for it as well, which was very weird and overwhelming, but cool for me as well.
Yeah, I bet. So, Mikael, I guess animation is a pretty broad term, and for those of us that really don't know anything about this part of game development, how would you sum up the role of an animator at Embark?
Good question. I think, and I guess this goes for Embark as a whole, when it comes to everyone that works here, is that we sort of view ourselves as game makers first. And then you have your specialization, if you may, as your second, skill there. Like, so we're animators, we're good at animating, but we also like making games. So we encourage everyone to take part in discussions about all areas of the game, and try to contribute and help each other, make the best thing that you can ever do. Because I think something that is great from an animator's perspective is that you're sort of, you're the glue in a lot of the features that we do. There's a lot of gameplay when it comes to animation. There's a lot of things that you need to think about. It's not just about making a great looking animation. It has to fit, with the style. It has to fit with the gameplay. You have to talk to the designers. You have to talk to the sound people. You have to talk to the programmers, and that makes it super interesting to be an animator in that position, because you get to influence a lot of different systems in the game just by doing animations, right? So I would say, we're animators and also game makers, and and that might differ a little bit from different studios depending on where you work. Some studios focus more on, we're gonna do very, very, very detailed animations, and I think for me it's about it's about the whole thing, right? We make animations to fit the game, that make the game shine as much as it can. Even though I have probably one of the best first-person animators, next to me. So, that's just fortunate that, all that stuff is looking incredibly well. So, yeah.
So you're kind of crystallizing a lot of things from different departments into what people are going to finally see in the game, right? Yeah.
Right.
And so as the animation director, like, how does your role differ from Oskar's, for instance, on a sort of day-to-day basis?
I mean, I wish it didn't differ that much because I love animating as well, like, and implementing and stuff like that. So, I mean, and this is, I guess, important to know is that we're not that many at Embark. We're not that many animators. We, on the finals for a very long time, it was me, Oskar and Kim. That was it. And now we have Gina on the project as well. But what we so my role was a lot of implementing as well. So we'll take different areas and then we'll work on them. I've been working a lot with like the third person stuff maybe, and then Oskar does the first person, or Kim would do all the emotes, all the front end, all that stuff, right? So but right now when we're more in the live phase, then it's a lot about like, okay, what do we do next? What's the next thing that the players probably want to see, like so setting the direction and setting the schedule for us and these type of things, the boring things, and then I'll have Oskar do the more fun things, implementing, right? So yeah, and they just making sure that the team has what they need to be able to perform, I think is my most important work right now.
Right. Okay. And then individual animators like Oskar, you're sort of just focusing on the work at hand on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair assessment. Yes.
Yeah. I think a lot of people might be amazed. There's only 4 of you in the team really that are focusing on animation. Like in some of the biggest studios, how many animators might there be on one game?
It's very different. I think for I can take DICE. We weren't that many at DICE either. I think then again, like this is something that we have chosen to do at Embark because we want to, and again, like this is one of the things that we feel is something important, is that we get very efficient, right? A lot of time spent when developing games is understanding what goes wrong, because there's a lot of things that goes wrong when you make games, right? So being efficient in finding out what goes wrong or how to do things, or actually making systems that is streamlined for taking out boring work is the best friend you can have in game dev. And that's, we spent a lot of time doing that when we started Embark, which means that now we can focus on the fun stuff, right? So, and that makes, our jobs a lot efficient. And I think being, so we're 4 animators, but that's not the whole story. We also have this tech anim team, which are an amazing, crew of smart people that would, we as simple animators, we would be like, could you help make a tool that makes this? And you have this idea about how to be more efficient, and they would, help us and then create this tool that just, triple X us in output. And, we have, Arvid and Branting and, Nils, Brennick, all those guys. Who am I forgetting? I don't want to forget.
Probably someone.
Yes, Simon as well, and Martinsson. So that was like a strategy when starting here, was to build like almost a 1-to-1 ratio between a tech person and an animator, because that's when we can get very efficient, and that has paid off, I would say.
My understanding of like, not any specific studio, but studios in general, is that there is a few tech animators and then quite a few more animators, and that's kind of the ratio. But like you said, we have more of a 1-to-1, which I think helps a lot. And same thing with, like you mentioned, Branting, who is I don't know exactly his role. Animator, tech animator, programmer. It's like a mix. Wanna take that again?
No, yeah, it's no. So this is a joke. I mean, Branting is more of a programmer, obviously, but I think we hired him as an animator because then he gets to stay on the animation team. So don't tell our tech director.
No, but the good thing there is that if we have things we need in the engine as well, in Unreal Engine, then we get help making like animation nodes that are custom for Embark as well. So we get custom tooling even within the game engine and not just when we're making the animation, so to speak, but implementation-wise too.
And so for the uninitiated, a tech animator, what's kind of their main focus? You sort of talked about how you can work together, but if you were to describe their role separately.
So a tech animator for us is a person that, you know, it paves the way for development, more or less. Like I think a traditional description would be like, you know, they make the rigs, so the skeletons and the, you know, the skinning of a character, how they, you know, the forms, and they do setups for cloth or things like that. But again, like, so if we go back to the initial description of us, it's like game makers, and I think something that maybe a lot of devs can relate to, and especially tech animators, is that they are jack of all trades. They are probably one of the most important, you know, persons that you could, or roles that you could have at the studio, because they know like the game engine and the tool side and everything inside out. So when other disciplines figure this out, they want a piece of the cake, right? So they are often used in many different you know, parts of the game and fixing things. So by having a lot of them, it makes us be able to, you know, also, you know, have them do a lot of stuff for animation. Like, you know, sometimes it's just visual, you know, greatness that you would like this cloth to behave in a certain way, or you have an idea on, you know, how can we blend these animations together so it looks, you know, more natural when you play, or how can we reduce, you know, the feeling of sluggishness in this input versus how the animation is playing and stuff like that. So this is not, I'm not answering your questions very well here, but I would say, you know, it's kind of hard to describe what to do, but I think they are like, you know, they are game makers more or less, like, you know, but they have an interest in animation that you know, not a lot of people have. So yeah, maybe you want to fill in that one, Oskar. I felt I'm wandering all over the place here.
No, but tech animators, they're like the best animation support in the studio. They're paving the way for us and helping us out. If there's something's not working, or if we need help with something, like tech animator is probably the first person we should talk to as an animator, and they'll, more often than not, they'll have the answers.
Would it be at all accurate to describe them as a translator between the game engine and what you guys do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a good description.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so you did answer it well because I understood it. So while you're doing your animation work, how much time do you find to actually just jump into the finals and play the game?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It goes up and down how much I play, for instance. For instance, the start of season 6, I played a lot. I played for probably 1.5 or 2 months of like every day in my spare time. And then, of course, if you work on a project 8 hours a day and then you also play it on your free time, sometimes you need a little bit of a break. So it goes up and down throughout the seasons since we launched. But yeah.
No, I think that's, yeah, we play a lot at the studio, of course, as well. We have playtests, I think, mandatory 3 times a week as well. So we get a lot of playtime in the office as well. Like we just recently we had our own internal tournament, which was super fun.
How did you go?
So you know, it could have gone better, I guess. But we have some really skilled players at the studio as well. So, you know,
I've come up against
bring your A game for sure.
Some of the preview events. Yeah, I've been stomped by a couple of them a few times.
So it's no, we love playing our game. I try to rock. We have these Embark kits that we can wear as well, and it's super fun playing and talking to the community, and that's one of the benefits. Being a dev is to be able to meet the players basically, and just speak to them and see what they like and what they don't like about the game.
Yeah, and so do you get the opportunity to play Art Creators as well, or do you work on that too, or you do both?
So the playtests are open for everyone at Studio, so we do test each other's games. We also the animators are working in the same tools, so we collaborate a lot on what we use and share findings and learnings, of course, between the projects. And for us, it's like we work where we need to work, where what needs attention is where we put our attention, right? So, we have separate teams, but I would like to see that we are one animation team.
So it ebbs and flows a bit.
Yep.
And it goes back to how you guys built the studio as well. Before I started that, it's quite easy to jump between the projects. So, even though I'm more or less 100% on the finals, if I need to help out on Arc Raiders, I can quite easily just jump over. It's kind of an easy switch on my computer to change project to work on.
Right. Okay. And of course, with the finals, you're going to have first person and third person animations because, when you're facing an opponent, you're seeing essentially the third person view of them, right? So how do those two animations kind of come together? Do you create one and then it becomes the other, or what? How do they fit together?
It depends on the animation, I would say. But when it comes to weapons, for instance, which I work mainly with, I try to think of it as it is a first-person game, first and foremost. So first person should be the priority. Like when we have ideas for reloads or inspects and stuff like that, we often think about how will this look in first person, and that's the most important thing. And then third person is also important, and we want it to look as good as possible, but that comes after, so to speak. So we do have systems where generally for reloads we can make a first person asset and then play the same asset in third person, which it's not flawless all over the place, but it generally works pretty well, which is good for asset bloating as well. Like if we make a new reload or inspect, we don't have to make duplicates of everything for first person and third person, so we can share a lot there. But then we also have set up our system so we can opt in to have unique third person assets. So if you make very intricate inspect animation when you flip things around left and right, then it just doesn't work in third person. We can always just make a checkbox and implement a third person asset or version of that.
Okay, so there's some flexibility around that, but it sounds pretty efficient. And also, I think the players like the idea of not having the game file sizes get too big as well, right?
Yeah,
because it helps with that. So Oskar, you said before that you had worked on Battlefield 5, and I saw on one of your show reels on your YouTube channel that you created the famous Garand thumb animation where the player gets their thumb caught in the gun while reloading it in the M1 Garand. So 2 questions about that. Did you come up with that idea yourself, or and if you did you actually have to put your thumb into an M1 Garand to know what it was like?
No and no is the short answer. No, but I like playing first-person shooters, and I like animating weapons a lot. That's why I've done it for the past 8.5 years or something now. But that said, I'm not like a gun nut in my spare time. I don't know much about guns, really. It's more from the animator's perspective. I do research online if I'm supposed to animate a new weapon, and I look up schematics of how it works. I look a lot of YouTube videos, and it's a lot of how does this flap move on this thing. I don't know the terminology for everything, but I try to represent it in the game as accurately as I can. And we have, of course, people. There were people back at DICE and some people here as well who really loves guns. It's a big hobby for them in their spare time. So of course they know more about it, and I would say especially on Battlefield 5, whenever we made a weapon, because it's a historical game as well, I wanted to represent things as accurately as I could. So I often asked people who were more interested, and I don't remember who it was right now, but it was someone on the team who talked about the grand thumb and kind of exposed that to me, like this is a thing that happens if you reload it incorrectly. So I thought, okay, I want to make it special. I know the M1 Garand is a special weapon for the Second World War, so let's make it a bit more unique. So yeah, then I looked at some videos of how does this happen, how do you reload it incorrectly and do this slip up, and made an asset like that and implemented it. So no, I didn't have to get my thumb in myself. It's all hand key there.
And so moving from games like Battlefield with DICE to the finals, obviously the weapons, there's a whole much wider range of weapons that we can have in the finals. So that creative freedom, did you enjoy that change from more military style to a wider range? And was it kind of easy to adjust to the massive flexibility of what was being held in the players' hands?
I enjoyed the switch, but that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy working on Battlefield either. It's different projects with different visions and different needs. I really like making the military, tactical, to the point animation, so to speak, and that has its own like perks and challenges. It's quite nice to just follow this style when you're animating from weapon to weapon as well. While on the finals, because it's more open. Initially, it was very fun to just, we can do whatever, but then we're realizing that we can't do whatever because the final still has its own style. And even if it's a bit more wacky or out there, it has a vision, so to speak, that we have to follow. And
there's a reality.
Yeah,
to
I would say it was maybe a few months, 3-4 months of adjusting. Oh yeah, we can actually do these things now. Oh, we can spawn in things which we couldn't do before, like just glitch in an object for the reload or inspect or whatever it is. Which of course you can't do on Battlefield because it's more real life, so to speak. So yeah, it's a nice change, but I enjoy both.
Nice. And Mikael, so when the finals was sort of first coming into development, what was the animation team's role like at that point? Like, did you have huge sessions where you talked about ideas for it, or did you start on one weapon and say, okay, let's just focus on one thing? How did it sort of play out?
So it was back then when I joined, and I was the only one on there for quite some time. So I made poor first-person animations, and just set up the systems and made sure that everything ran or was set up like I imagined the project to grow into this more modular way of working. But I think with the finals, like you say, there's so much space for different type of weapons. So when I came on, we had a ton. Like, there were so many weapons, and they all looked the same. And because there was no animations, you're just floating around with different, meshes of different guns, and that gave us. And I think that's a good way to start, because you want to go gameplay first. You want to see how does this interact with something else. I think at some point you could have how many guns that you wanted in your loadout, basically, and that was crazy. And it didn't work, and we gradually slimmed down to a package that we felt was representative of playstyles. And I think something that we are very keen on is we want to represent all the different playstyles from all the different genres of weapons, if you may, that you could fantasize about being in this game show, right? So it's very carefully selected, this fantasy that we want to present to you as a player, right? And I think that's where we arrived, I guess, at the beginning. But it all looked really bad. Once you get all the gameplay systems there, it starts to function, the whole loop, the core. starts to, feel good, and then that's when you go in and like, okay, how do we make this look good? So now it plays good. How do we make it look good? So I guess that's sort of the process that we've been going through.
Okay, cool. And then as animations get added, so for instance, today I was streaming the finals today and playing heavy with the 50 akimbos for a good portion of the day. And someone in the chat was just saying how cool those animations are. And I actually ended up getting all of the animations for the akimbos today to have them right across the board. Inspirations for those different reloads and inspects and so on. Where do they come from? Like, do you could you be watching something on TV and go, hey, I really want to chuck something like that into the game? Or will it come from other people in the team? Like, where does that inspiration come from for those things?
It's all over the place. It's sometimes I just get an idea out of nowhere. Oh, this would be cool. And I just animate it, try it out. Sometimes there's different people on the team. Sometimes you see something online or on TV, or it's it's a healthy mix of everything, I would say. I as an animator, I try to listen to all ideas. I want to hear all ideas, and then what we actually crystallize and make, and then what gets into the game, that has some kind of like process of, this might work, this might not work, this will look good. Sometimes people have good ideas, but then it doesn't really translate well in the game as well. And vice versa. Sometimes, this sounds, I don't know, a bit boring, but then when you try it, like, no, it actually has a lot of style and it can feel very juicy or cool anyways.
Yeah, okay, you can give it character. How many ideas do you think make it in versus those that don't? Like a rough percentage, is it 50-50? Or
never thought about that. I would honestly, I would say most make it in. Just gut feel percentage would be like 80-85% or something.
Right. Wow. Cool.
Yeah. Then it's always a matter of like, where should we fit this? Should it be part of a skin? Should it be an animation bundle? Does it fit with this season's theme, or should we do it like next season or the season after that? Like sometimes we have backlogs of ideas as well. This could be cool, but we don't want to do it yet, essentially.
So, Mikael, earlier on, you sort of talked about that there was a lot of prep done really when Embark first sort of got going. And do you feel there are things that the Embark animation team do now that are different from other studios, or are they just slight variations on what others do?
It's hard to say. I think, I guess most studios work a little bit different. I think the difference or how I want the team to be set up is, the split between tech and animators. Like that's maybe a different thing. I think we, I think the focus on being able to iterate is something that we, is significant for us. Is that the more iteration cycles that you can get in on something, the better it becomes. I think that's true for most things. That we often don't end up doing something right the first time, and that if we can change something and then immediately playtest that and change or feel it together with someone else, I think that's the key to create good nice games, and I think for us as an animation team, that is a focus, and that might slightly differ from other studios maybe. I think that's something that we focus a lot on at DICE as well. So it's hard for me to know, but that's how we are set up, and that's how I think what works for us.
Yeah, I mean, if I may continue on that as well, it's what you're saying. I think we are very technical for being animators. My understanding of animation as a role in general in the industry is less tech focused, but we want essentially everyone who animates here to implement as well, and to sit in the game engine and communicate with the programmers and learn from the programmers and have an exchange of knowledge all the time, kind of, and improve again as game makers, like you said. And speaking, like going back to what we talked about before with the tech animators and what you said now about iterating, we have set up as well so that if I'm sitting in Maya and I'm animating a reload and I want to iterate on it, it often feels different when you look at it in the viewport in Maya and when you actually feel it in game with all of the different systems and lighting and cosmetics that are on the weapon and everything. So we have a button in our animation tool where you can just, if you have the game running and you're sitting in Maya, you can press one button and it will save and export the animation, import it into the game, and you can try it immediately. Which is very handy for iterating, because it's like, I want to try this thing out, press one button, wait for 5 seconds, and then you try it in game.
Right, okay. And Maya is one of the main tools you use for the animation?
Yes.
So we use, there's different tools. I think that's another focus for us, that I want us to use the tools where people feel confident and where they do their best work. So for some it's Maya, for some there's other tools out there. But yeah, we go where we need to basically for creating our animations.
Cool. And Oskar, once an idea sort of come into being that, okay, we're going to try this, how long would you say it takes between the starting to the finished product?
It's heavily dependent on which item it is and which animation it is. I think if I'm taking the extremes, I think the fastest I've done anything from start to finish, and it's in the game and it's polished and done, is probably 2 hours, which is very fast. But the slowest can also be like up to 5 days of full working days of just animating for one asset. It's if you're animating basically a static object of, I don't know, the dagger or something. It's not a lot of moving parts. It's just this thing that you move around. It can still be a lot of animation on the hands and fingers, but it's generally easier than if you have a light machine gun with an ammunition belt that should have physics on it and a bunch of opening lids and pulling bolts and whatever it is. And then if you go crazy with that as well and try to have a lot of connection between hands and moving parts on the weapon, or the dual pistols take quite a bit of time to animate as well, because you have two different things that shouldn't feel connected, and then they have their own individual magazines, and yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those reloads are sort of separated, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say maybe a general would be somewhere between 1 and 2 days for one animation. So if you take one reload, it's maybe 8 to 12 hours of animation work or something.
Okay. And when you're coming up with ideas for reload animations, how do you decide which weapons get priority? Is it done by popularity for the weapons that are being used more by the players, or how do you decide?
I think we talked a little bit about this, and I think something that's interesting as well is that, if Oskar or Gina or whoever makes an animation, it also becomes popular. I think
I get it.
I think it's we want to, again, all the weapons and gadgets and stuff is carefully selected to be in the game. There's quite a few, but when we released there were not that many, right? So I think it's important that we spread the love here. But of course, we also look at, for example, like a new, if you start out in the finals, you have starter weapons like the AK or the M11 or maybe the Sledgehammer or the M60. So of course it's beneficial that there's stuff to try out there already from the start. So they might get a few more, and then we'll try to have a back catalog of trying to catch up with weapons that maybe haven't had as much animations. But yeah, so yeah, there's different things. Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it's also I just have an idea for one of the weapons we already have, and ignoring the popularity and everything else, it's just I want to animate this thing because I think it'll be really cool. And then I do that because it doesn't take that much time in general, and I just get it in there, try it out, and see how it feels, and if people like it in the studio as well. And it can also come from the other way. Like, I know it's an example I've mentioned a lot before when I've talked to other people, but the dagger has the cheese slicer skin, which I think were released all the way back in season 1 or something. If I don't misremember, I think that came from one of our 3D artists who wanted to photo scan a cheese, because that's a fun thing to do that you don't really get to do normally. So he did that, and then from there it kind of just expanded and turned into this whole weapon skin with unique animations as well.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, another aspect of this is, of course, our community, which you know, we have lots of joy watching the different ideas that they come up with, you know, for things, and it's so cool to see how in tune they are with, you know, how we think about things and how the universe of the finals is set up, and you know, it's just, yeah, it's amazing to see what they come up with, and sometimes it's like it's already in our boards, but they kind of, you know, they came to the same conclusion here, and that's super cool. So
it's like the energy feeds off back and forwards between the two, right?
Exactly,
yeah. I think it's happened to me once or twice that as I'm sitting and animating something that we've come up internally, I check Reddit a little bit during lunch, and I see a post of like, "Oh, wouldn't this be a cool idea?" I'm like, I'm making it now. It's it's on its way in, kind of.
And Oskar, so I understand for some of the weapon animations that there is kind of a modular system that, for instance, single bullet reload animations that can be stitched together to show multiple reloads depending on how many rounds have been used. Can you tell me a bit about how that system works?
Yeah, sure. First of all, huge help in implementing that is Sahil Donju and Martin Hedberg as well, 2 programmers in the studio. It couldn't have been done without them. But essentially how the system works is that you have 3 sections of a reload. You have an intro, you have a number of different loops, and then you have an outro. So you always play the intro and you always play the outro. And as a minimum, you can, I guess as a maximum, you can insert 1 bullet in either the intro or the outro, and then the system will kind of work automatically. So you play an intro where you say insert a bullet, and then if the weapon is full after that, you will just immediately blend to the outro and go back into the base pose. Or you can have that bullet be in the outro as well. And then we have a number of loops, and we can make as many loops as we want, where you insert 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets, whatever, in each loop, which has their own animations for those sections as well. So the system just checks, okay, you start reloading, and there is, 5 bullets until you top up, until you're full. It's going to play the intro, where say you then insert 1 bullet, so then it's 4 left to insert, and then it checks what are the animations available for this weapon. If you don't have a loop where you insert 4 bullets, but you have one where you insert 3 and one where you insert 1, it's going to play the 3 first, and then the 1, and then the outro, and goes back out. So you just populate a weapon's loops, or like the animations. You populate with the intro, outro, and as many loops as you want. And it's just going to pick kind of like the highest number first after the intro. And it just works.
A great system. Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Oskar, I saw in a previous interview that you had with content creator Lossie back in the day that when you were with DICE, you actually did your own motion capture work. So do the animation team still get involved in mocap work, or are you guys kind of pretty focused on the animation side of it now?
We mocap ourselves as well. It's not 100% us. It's a mix. We have actors and stuntmen that we take in sometimes as well. But I guess they do generally more. How do you want to explain that? They do more of the.
I don't know. I'm 42. I can't really move how I imagine something to move. So I mean, we do have a very small room where we can prototype things or shoot things in a suit that we have at work. So it's a pretty, it's a very slim setup, I guess. But it does the work, and I think a lot of the animators are very, they have this specific idea in their head, and then they, go and act it out, and we can use it as a placeholder, or, if you're more, or younger than me, then maybe, it's good enough to put in the game. And then, so, yeah, it's a mix. And I think it goes back again to, like, what method do you need to utilize to get to the result that you want? Is that hand key? Is it mocap? Is it, I don't know, stop motion? Not that much stop motion, I guess, in the game, but that's what we need to do. That's what we need to provide for the animators to be able to use, right? So yeah, we use a lot of mocap.
Yeah. And how do you get around? Oh, sorry, you go on, Oskar.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that, like, it's a healthy mix. Like, some of the animations that are a bit more out there, we need to hand key it because we can't mocap everything. But when it comes to some of the more standard reloads or interactions, then yes, we can mocap it, and we often jump in the suit ourselves.
Then if you have something like with a weapon, so you're not going to have a MGL 32 lying around the studio, right? So how do you get around not having, the weapon at hand?
Acting. No, but it's
That's a good answer.
Kind of like that. We do have some, like, plastic fake. I don't know if it's BB guns or something else, but we have some plastic fake weapons that we can act with. So we have maybe some pistol, some AK. But yeah, I think if we need a rocket launcher and we don't have a rocket launcher, we could probably take a stick and put it on our shoulder and try to act as if it's heavy. Then, of course, you get different mocap data if you're acting like something is heavy and if you have something that's actually heavy. So depending on if it's a gameplay reload, which has to be quite snappy and fast with a heavy thing, it might be beneficial to not have a heavy thing, because yes, it will look more heavy, but it's also going to feel more sluggish and be difficult, and you're going to have to speed it up in post to make it fit with the gameplay speed and everything.
Do you have light and medium and heavy build specialists amongst the mocap team?
Not really, no, but
okay.
Interesting, yeah.
Maybe we should.
So, Mikael, maybe a question for you. What does a bad day for an animator look like? Like, how can things go wrong for an animator, and what are those challenges that might be presented?
I guess that's, very different from different people. I think for me, it's, writer's block obviously is tough when you don't really, you don't get anywhere with what you're working with, or, you don't understand the problem that you're trying to solve, or things like that. But I think, the worst days for me is probably like you go in, you get to the office, and you turn on YouTube, and there's probably like a Jinko video of someone like, breaking the animations in 50 different ways, and this is tough because, often animation bugs is probably the most fun bugs, right? It's stuff that people appreciate, the heavy, runs like a madman, or, things just look stupid. And for me, from an animator's perspective, I just want to go in and fix it, right? So I think maybe that's not a bad day, but, that's just, now I need to focus on fixing this, and then you go and fix it, and you put it in the patch notes, and then you say, like, fix the goofy heavy animation that happens sometimes, and the whole community goes, "No, why did you fix that?" So,
but you can blame Jinko then, right? He's going to be delighted that you've name dropped him in the interview, though. I can tell you.
No, it's so much fun to watch his stuff.
Yeah, he's got great videos. I really enjoy them as well. So, Oskar, I've seen on your YouTube channel that you're actually quite an accomplished guitarist. And so for the guitar Sledgehammer skin, were you involved as a musician in that as well as an animator?
A bit. It's not me playing the guitar, like the audio. That's from the sound team. But I think to some extent it helped a bit when animating it. Just knowing kind of how hand and finger positions should be on the fretboard, and proper technique, so to speak. But yeah, no, I would say in general, it's having a background in music is actually helping out when animating as well. Because even if it's audio and visual are two different things, it's still changes over a timeline or changes over time. So when you're sitting and mixing a song, and when you're sitting and kind of quote unquote mixing an animation, it's a similar mindset to it.
You're right.
Adding layers and like setting up constraints and like yeah, exactly. So I think it helped me a lot when I started studying animation as well, that I've been playing a lot of music before.
That makes sense.
And I mean, even now, I'm, like you've said, we're all game makers. I have put audio on some of the animations that I've made here, which I'm not part of the sound team, but they've given me the green light to help out here and there where it's needed, which is fun as well, to do other stuff than only animation, even though that is my main thing.
I like that you guys have that flexibility. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So now I've got a question for each of you. So which for each of you is your favorite animation in the finals?
I think for me, it's probably one of the later ones. I really enjoyed animating the long dagger inspect with a bunch of flips and tricks and things like that. I think that's my favorite singular animation. But I would like to add on to it as well that I think my favorite set of animations is probably the CB01. I'm just very happy with how that's turned out. The lever action rifle for the latest season in the finals, yeah. It's not super over the top. I just feel like it hit that right spot. It feels good to use.
Nice. And Mikael, what about you?
That's such a good question. It's like choosing your favorite baby. Like, no, but it's. I think
you have one, but you don't want to say, right?
I think I would say for me, like, and this is because we worked so long and it was so hard to get right. Is the animation when you eliminate someone in the game and it turns into coins. Like that whole spectacle of like different disciplines coming together. It's like VFX, it's tech anim, it's animation, it's sound, it's like all that spectacle. And then also from our creative director, Gustav, just, he wouldn't budge. It's like, no, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. We need to make it better. And we just pushed this thing, and it took us, so long to get it perfect. And I think that is my favorite, and that's just not one animation, but that sequence together, I think is my favorite.
And something quite unique to the game as well, right?
Yeah,
that's cool. So Mikael, before we let you go, because we're going to have a special chat to Oskar about something else. But before we let you go, can you tell us if there are any secret reloads waiting to be discovered by players?
No comment on that. I actually, like, if there are, I wouldn't know. Like, that guy is pretty sneaky. Like, so, well, I don't know. We'll see.
Not giving too much away there, which is fine.
Sorry.
The players are going to watch the interview and go, there's definitely secret reloads that we haven't discovered yet. Well, Mikael, I want to say thank you very much for joining me for the interview. And also, I really appreciate that you watched my videos as well. It's very kind of you to mention that at the start too. And hopefully we get the chance to have another chat down the track. It would be really cool. I've really enjoyed this.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll let you go now, and we'll have a chat to Oskar about his little special project that he's got. But
cool.
You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Kia kaha, stay strong. All right, Oskar, so we have something special to wrap the interview up with, which a lot of people might not know about. But when we first started chatting about having this conversation with the two of you, you said to me that one of the unique perks of working for Embark is that they've been supportive of you making your own completely independent game called Revolvermen while you're an Embark employee. Is this quite a unique situation with Embark as a developer where you can work on your own game at the same time? Or do a few studios kind of embrace this sort of creativity?
I don't really want to speak for other studios. I don't know the policies on many other studios, but that said, I'm very thankful that Embark allows me to do this. And not just me, I know other people who have their own side projects as well, and it's very fun to be allowed to and be able to be creative outside of work. And I think one mindset that they have here at Embark, or we have here at Embark, is that if I do something else on my spare time, I'm probably just gonna learn a bunch from that and bring that to work as well. So it's a mutually beneficial thing that I'm allowed to do this, essentially.
Yeah, okay, I get it. So tell us how Revolvermen came about, and I guess what the game's all about.
It's back when I studied animation in game dev school here in Sweden. I don't know exactly where it came from, but I got this idea that wouldn't it be fun if you played as a revolver, a sentient revolver that runs around and jumps. And I think the base idea was you are a revolver with the barrel pointing down, kind of as your tail, so to speak. And if you shoot while you're mid-air, you will get a boost upwards from the recoil of the revolver. That's the base of the whole idea, essentially. And then that turned into more and more, okay, so if you shoot downwards and you get this boost upwards, that'll help you navigate the level. You can jump up on different platforms, but you also shoot downwards, so if someone is below you, they will take damage. How can this be a fun game? So, I got some friends together in school from some different disciplines, and we spent a week, and I think it was 2 or 3 days, just prototyping this or game jamming it. I think we used Unity back then. And I was, quote unquote, the game director for that little game jam and had most of the ideas, and we all helped out, of course. And it turned out pretty fun, I think. It's still up on itch.io to download for free if anyone wants to try out the old prototype from 10 years ago or whenever it was.
Wow. So the game's about 10 years in development in total.
I guess you can put it like that, but it hasn't been active game development for 10 years.
Okay, yeah.
No, so that was kind of it. And then I focused on studies, and I got into DICE and started working in the industry. And this just kind of like went in the back of my head, but it was still always there a little bit, like, oh, I think this game could be something more. And now, almost exactly 2 years ago, there was a colleague here at DICE, or at Embark. I think I mentioned the idea that, I think I would like to do this again and make it a bit more proper than that game jam version we made. And he just said, well, do it. And like, Unreal is free to use for anyone. You can just download it and use it. And Unreal is what we use here. So of course, it's a bit easier of a transition to learn Unreal from other disciplines perspective as well, and not just animation that I do here. And him just saying that, just do it, just made me do it, essentially. I downloaded Unreal. I think I spent, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say I spent every minute of my free time for 2 weeks only working on this. My girlfriend hated me at the time, but in the long run, I thought it was worth it. We're married now, so it turned out well.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. No, but I spent like all my energy on my spare time just getting a prototype up. And of course, back then I didn't know anything about how do you make a game by yourself in Unreal? How do you make a level and make physics work and character movement and a shared camera with several players on the same screen? And I had no idea at all. So I think I YouTubed and found some tutorial that I just followed to the T. Everything that they said in the tutorial, I didn't understand what I did. I was just kind of like walking blind, trying to make this work. And then eventually, all of a sudden, it just works. Just one step at a time. Shared camera, several actors, having the camera on the side, having the characters only run in two axes and not in depth. And then slowly but surely, I've just built thing after thing after thing on top of it. And it's been 2 years, and I released it now, I think it's 2 weeks ago on Steam.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I think what you've just said is probably going to give a lot of people inspiration as well, to know that you can just go into making a game with having some skills, but maybe, having parts of it that you don't know so well, and you can find a way to sort of forge ahead and make it anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a lot of headaches along the way. There's so many things that I didn't know when I started. And sure, I knew the animation side of things because of my profession, but I love animating as a profession. But for this specific side project, because I animate 8 hours a day at work, and then I get home and I continue with game development, all of the other aspects of game development has been the interesting part. So animation has kind of been on the back burner of the project. I've made all of the animations in the game myself, but it's, if I'm being honest, maybe this is bad promotion, but I haven't really focused much on the animation side of things. The animator in me hasn't really, I don't really care too much about the animation quality because that's not been the focus of the project. It's been more a focus of getting everything else to work. And like you mentioned before with me being a guitarist, I made the music myself as well, which has been
amazing.
Very fun.
Yeah. And so you made the entire soundtrack completely yourself, or did you have input from others on that as well?
No, it's completely by myself. I've been sitting at home with a microphone and a guitar and things I found around the apartment, essentially. Like I want a shaker. I took some rice, put it in a bottle, and that was the shaker. And a lot of, I want some drums. I just drum on the guitar, or I even have a pen that I hit on the table to get audio from it.
Wow. That's really cool. And so other parts of the game you had input from other people in the last 2 years, those?
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess that's a huge benefit when making your own game and you're actually working at a game studio, that I have a lot of connections and friends at work. So for instance, when I started out, I want to make VFX, I have no idea how that works. And I could just walk up to the VFX team here at Embark and not really stealing any like work time from them, but more after work or during lunch. It's like, how does this work? Can you guide me in the right direction of how should I do this thing? And I mean, same thing for audio. And I even got I've got a little bit of programming help from a few colleagues and friends here and there. And they're all mentioned in the credits in the game. I kind of don't want to start name dropping people because I'll forget other people and it'll feel...
Yeah, for sure. I understand.
Yeah. But no, I haven't made everything myself. But I would say estimate, 90-95% of the project probably. And some of it is a few things. One of the programmers jumped in and actually helped. He coded for me. I had a lot of issues getting like a opt-in, opt-out of controller keyboard inputs for the game. And then some of it is just I've had like a online like video sharing your screen kind of thing like this, and I've been guided like, if you change these 10 lines of code, then this thing will work for you, or you'll expose this parameter to the game engine blueprints, and you can use that to make whatever you want to make. Yeah.
Okay, and the game itself is fully local, right? So it's just played on a single PC, but can have multiple players either using various keys on the keyboard or individual controllers. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. So I haven't implemented any online functionality because, again, my first project, online and having network and everything syncing with clients and servers, and it felt like a lot, so I wanted to limit the scope for this first thing. I would really like to implement some online functionality, and when I tested the game maybe a few months ago before release, I tried it with one friend to get a Steam remote play thing, and we didn't get it working, but then I heard from other people now after I released it that it works. So I'm a bit unsure if it works or not, but I've heard that it should work now, and I haven't really had time to test it yet myself. But yeah, online would be a great addition to the game, I think, and no promises, but I would love to try and make that work down the line.
And maybe once a few people are jumping in and playing it, you might see that as an opportunity. And so I'll put links in below this interview video for people to get access to the game. But in your own words, where's the best place for them to go and pick it up from?
It would be the Steam page for the game. I've only released it on Steam at this moment. I would again love to get it on PlayStation, if it's Nintendo Switch consoles or Xbox or whatever else, but I haven't even started the process of trying to get it on those stores. So right now, at least, it's exclusively on Steam.
Awesome. Well, I've had a little jump around in it just by myself. I haven't convinced my wife to play it yet, but I'll see if I can do that. And it's a lot of fun. I like and the music in it is so cool. I think the overall art theme of it is just heaps of fun. So yeah, it's congratulations on making your own independent game. It's pretty special.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Oskar, thank you so much. And again, thank you to Mikael for both of you sitting in today. It's been really awesome. And again, thanks for mentioning that you've watched my videos from time to time when you find time between animating. And I hope we get the chance to catch up and have a chat in the future about some of the animations that you do. But thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day and kia kaha. Stay strong.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely.
Thanks for watching to the end, and again, a big thank you to Mikael and Oskar for taking the time out of their busy day to sit down and chat with me. Also, as I mentioned at the start of the video, I have 5 Steam codes to give away for Oskar's independent game, Revolvermen. So if you're keen to go in the draw for a copy of the game, then join me on the Datopia Discord. There's a link in the video description below, and head to the giveaway channel we've set up for the code giveaway. The giveaway will run for a week, so there's plenty of time to jump in and join. Neither the Revolvermen game or the code giveaway are associated with Embark Studios. Lastly, a big thank you to the members of my channel for their ongoing support, especially my Black Tier members Linksy, TJ and Thoronike17, and of course to Embark Studios for including me in their content creator program. Both are greatly appreciated. Do the usual YouTube business if you want to see more videos from me from now on. Give a like or comment as you see fit, and enjoy the rest of your day. Kia kaha. Stay strong.
Everybody knows the world ain't right. Down on your knees, get up and fight.